Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. We're back with a talk video, and we've got the Boushh Leia release to talk about. We're going to do our usual, the kit analysis, synergies, developer insights, and since we haven't gotten it to yet, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Savage Omicron, then wrap up as we do with the free-to-play gearing of my roster. With a faction this fresh and with all these new pieces, just like when we had Inquisitors or Bad Batch releases, there's a limit to what we can learn individually. But with 3 new Cartel Marquee characters to go along with the existing, we can start seeing a picture of what is intended now that we have Boushh Leia. As always, these synergies that CG gives us are rarely meaningful, especially because this one doesn't even include Skiff Lando, who is obviously intended to work with her as a pair, as a duo. During our breakdown of the Screech Lando kit, we speculated that Boushh would utilize and benefit greatly from potency, since there was no meaningful benefit for Screech to be awarding a potency bump for Curzanton or Lando himself from that special. But with Boushh, we can see the intended purpose. Greedo is the most other notable character here. He's going to be critical to maximizing the impact of thermals, that's pretty obvious, and that synergy alone means his relic is now undeniably justifiable for Jabba, and nearly guarantees that Greedo will be part of the ideal squad. For Bounty Hunter only synergy, I'm sure there's going to be a real fun thermal squad with Zam and Greedo, but we'll have to see if it has a meaningful use in game or if it's just to goof off with. There's also an outside chance Mob Enforcer won't be useless, since she does have a little bit of thermal synergy, maybe an Omicron in her future. As we go through the kit, we'll talk more about some synergies with an emphasis on the leadership and how that will function. With the developer insights here, the basics portion highlights the thermal detonators, the new buff, and implies some flexibility with Boushh. We'll see how much that occurs. That doesn't always prove out. Unique attributes portion highlights the raid Omicron. Obviously could indicate a future raid, but CG also has said they don't like to put time into large projects that have a short window of being relevant. We all saw that with the Rancor Mythic Raid, Challenge Raid, so it may just as easily not mean much. The strategy tips portion here is the next most relevant portion for us to approach. Emphasizes the import of the deadly bluff and suggests trying to extend its length of time on the enemy. There's a lot here within the kit that is clearly waiting on Jabba to be fully realized right now, so we have to pick and choose which functionality we'll want to feature. This will be clear as we move through the kit. Most important thing in the frequently asked questions portion is what I've already highlighted. The importance of potency is being made explicit. I doubt mods will be enough. It's going to be more of a mods plus Skiff Lando situation is my suspicion. We're going to jump into our kit breakdown in our slightly more streamlined way that I like to do things, or strip out at least a few words. The basic ambidextrous assault deals special damage to the target and inflict a thermal. If the ally in the leader slot is a Hutt cartel, then it can't be evaded. If the ally leader is a bounty hunter, inflict defense down. And if it's Boushh's turn and the ally leader is a smuggler, attack again. So unless you use Boushh as a leader, right now no other leader in game will accomplish all of these functions. Almost certainly Jabba will complete this, and in the future there may be a non-GL marquee that will accomplish this. But as of today, if you want to get the most out of Boushh, she will need to be the leader. Only in that scenario will you get the double attack, and as a consequence, inflict the double thermals. Interestingly, up next, we have the first and only special. This is one of the rare characters, at least rare recent characters, with only a basic ability and a special ability to speak of. This doesn't happen very often. Cara Dune might be the most recent, but I'm probably forgetting someone. AoE special damage, AoE detonate, then AoE inflict thermal detonators. Surprisingly, functionality long needed for the bounty hunters, for how many of them have at least a little thermal usage. Nice little ability. Cooldown 3 is pretty reasonable, and that gets better with the leader and payout, and we'll hit that when we get further down. With the first unique, Fearless, this is a Zeta ability. Boushh is immune to fear. At the start of the encounter, Boushh gains 1 stack of My Kind of Scum. Note that, and all enemies gain Deadly Bluff for 3 turns. At the end of each turn, if an enemy with Deadly Bluff was inflicted with a thermal, inflict an additional thermal. So those are going to very quickly start adding thermals, especially when you combine that with the basic ability. If all allies were Hut Cartel at the start, enemies with Deadly Bluff can't attack out of turn, and if they have both Deadly Bluff and a thermal, they lose 25 speed. If the ally leader is Cartel and not a GL, Boushh is immune to turn meter manipulation. Boushh will assist whenever another Hut Cartel uses an ability and the target enemy has Deadly Bluff. So My Kind of Scum, 10% max health and defense. Deadly Bluff, Boushh's abilities gain additional effects. Very solid unique, has a nice little bonus that won't be accessible if you're using Jabba. So if you're using like Boushh Leia as a leader, she will be immune to turn meter manipulation. That won't be true if you have GL Jabba. Interesting little tweak there. I'm a little surprised My Kind of Scum right now has no way to stack, and even a little bit that they wrote it this way. I guess it will help long term that they won't have to make any tweaks. But it's specifically described as getting a stack at the start of the battle, and the quote in the movie, that's Jabba's quote, My Kind of Scum. So it's very likely Jabba is going to be adding My Kind of Scum stacks, and by Jabba awarding My Kind of Scum, he would be able to boost the survivability of the squad. Awarding it to Chrysanthemum would be great, make him even tankier, and that's probably the biggest clue we've had so far to Jabba's functionality, and we've had a couple good ones so far. The second unique, Ubezi Ojian Cloak. This is an Omicron ability. Boushh and Lightside Smuggler allies gain 5% armor penetration, 15% offense, 10% potency, and 10 speed. If the ally leader is Hut Cartel, Boushh and Lightside Smuggler allies are immune to ability block and stun, and these bonuses are doubled. Lightside Smuggler allies will also gain 20% critical chance. This is an interesting unique. One, the Lightside Smuggler allies could just be read as Skiff Lando, move on from there. He's the only major one with the Hut Cartel tag right now, but the issue here is while the crit chance helps him in a general sense, there is nothing in his kit that really cares about it. So what this ability does do is give a little fuel to my dash conspiracy theory. The only issue with that is if you're adding any other Lightside Smugglers, Lando would probably be eliminated from the squad. He kind of really needs all Hut Cartel. So the only other Lightside Smuggler allies to consider who care about crit chance would be Han. Han would do very well and could be a good addition with the leader ability. It would pair to make Leia a bit more effective. The raid Omicron, max cooldown of Inventive reduced by 1. If the allied leader is Cartel, when Fearless inflicts a thermal, all Hut Cartel allies gain stats, armor penetration, offense, potency, speed. You can read it for this specific amount. Without context, this is a good Omicron. If you are in a guild struggling to complete the challenge Rancor, possibly worth considering. And GL Jabba already looks to be a fairly achievable galactic legend, even without the final set of requirements. He's in that Sith Eternal range, a little bit more demanding with the Chirotex, but that's about it in terms of relic levels. It's already mathematically nearly impossible for him to reach that Lord Vader range with relic levels. But despite all that, unless you're in this fringe case, Omicrons are still too valuable. We don't get enough based on the number of them and the frequency that new Omicrons are being introduced. It's just getting harder and harder, and the good ones are not good enough to outweigh the fact that the no-brainers, we hardly have enough to just stay on top of those. The leader ability, Brutal Bargainer. Bounty Hunter allies gain 25% max health and protection, and enemies with Deadly Bluff lose 25% tenacity. So that just means it's going to be even easier to be landing those thermal detonators, especially with that potency synergy. At the end of each turn, dispel all buffs on enemies with both Deadly Bluff and thermal detonators. It's the second ability where there's going to be additional benefits by having both Deadly Bluff and thermal detonators. Contract is defeat enemy with damage from thermal detonators, and the reward is all bounty hunters have their payouts activated and are immune to stun, and additionally enemies can't be revived. This is a real nice lead. The contract could turn out to be a little finicky. That we'll have to test to prove out. Sometimes having the character die by the thermal and not another attack might not happen the way that you want. But the rest of the lead, the extra stats, the drop in tenacity, the dispel, all of that is going to be very effective. And we can see here what was hinted in the insights. This lead is why you'll be incentivized to keep Deadly Bluff active as long as possible, because it will help the thermal synergy, and because it will constantly be dispelling, almost like how Fulcrum functions with debuffs, how she's constantly cleansing them. But this is going to be inflicted on the enemy with their own buffs, and with the incentive, and with that the incentive to keep Deadly Bluff active. Han pulling turn meter with this basic will be a threat, and it makes me wonder if about Kira and her applying stagger. Both will benefit from the unique being light side smugglers. But again, the trade-off here is they aren't Hutt Cartel, and Skiff Lando most of all is negated by mixing up the squad and not having all Hutt Cartel members. Boushh's payout: AoE inflict 3 thermal detonators, ambidextrous assault and inventive inflict 1 additional thermal detonator, and if all allies were Hutt Cartel at the start of the battle, cooldown of inventive is reset and the max cooldown is reduced. So along with how Skiff Lando's kit works, another functionality that incentivizes a full squad of Hutt Cartel. It is a really powerful payout and scales up what she and bounty hunters could accomplish. This payout is so nice that using her without a bounty hunter lead to take advantage of the contracts is probably a waste, and right now her lead is so good that she will, for the time being, be the Hutt Cartel leader. The best in-progress squad for the time being is going to be Leia lead, Lando, Chrysanthemum, Greedo. Then the final slot can be Boba Fett, Cad, preferably a bounty hunter, but not necessarily. Obviously, Mob Enforcer will have a little bit of thermal synergy. Boba Fett, though, is probably better with other bounty hunters just because of how powerful he is, but he will do a lot of damage with this squad. Depends how you want to divide up your bounty hunters. You could also swap in Han or another light side smuggler, but in that scenario probably means Lando is expendable. Lando is good though. Let's take a look at his special here. Covert coordination. This is why he is going to be so beneficial with Leia. Say cleanse target ally, Grant stacks of deep cover to the target other ally equal to the stacks that Skiff Lando has, and if the target ally is Hutt Cartel, they gain retribution and speed up. If the target other ally is light side, they gain potency up and stealth for 2 turns, and call the target ally to assist, then grant them a bonus turn. There's a bunch going on there, but those things are going to make her very annoying to deal with and make her a lot better. That bonus turn is going to be huge. That assist is going to be really nice. The retribution is going to make the thermal synergy more of a nuisance. And then on top of all that, there's a speed up, which means you're just getting to her turns faster and faster. Last week was pretty light, so I didn't make a specific video on the Savage Oppress Omicron announcement, but it's really nice Omicron. And if you're a long-time watcher of this channel, especially if you've seen my 100th Zeta Spectacular talk video, you know how much I like this guy. Of the Clone War era characters, outside of Maul and Ahsoka, obviously, Savage was a personal favorite of mine. This Omicron, this is a Grand Arena Omicron, so already on the plus side of the ledger, Savage gains 50% defense, max health, offense, and speed. So he's getting tankier, he's getting faster, and he's doing more damage. At the start of the encounter, Savage gains 2 stacks of resilient defense. That's from Mace Windu. His kit, if you want to be reminded of how that works, at the end of his turn, Savage gains 2 stacks of resilient defense, maxed out at 10, and 10% turn meter, max of 50% for each debuff on other Sith allies. And if there's squads like Darth Revan's squads, self-inflicting debuffs, that means getting to that max of 50% is going to be very quick, meaning you are going to get even more stacks of resilient defense faster. When Savage is critically hit, he gains 16% health steal and offense. That maxes out at 160, and all other Sith allies gain 4% health steal and offense, maxing out at 40%. They also recover 15% health and protection and gain 10% turn meter until the end of the encounter. While Savage has resilient defense, he has plus 50% defense per stack and is inflicted with vulnerable, which can't be prevented or dispelled. Vulnerable is a debuff that guarantees he will be critically hit. So Savage is going to be guaranteeing for himself that he gains the health steal and the offense and those bonuses for other Sith allies. Whenever Savage gains taunt, he dispels it and gains 2 stacks of resilient defense. I really like this. It's not quite a guarantee no-brainer of an Omicron, but it's a really nice one. And there was one I was kind of saving for Asajj Ventress. It's probably going to go to Savage right now because I love Savage. I love Sith. Very likely it's going to happen, but I am going to hold off for a few more days. We don't have any Grand Arenas going on right now, so we've got a week, or at least most of a week, to see if CG adds an additional one. We know Cassian is on the horizon. I was surprised they announced this Omicron and not Cassian's. So it may turn out that Cassian has an Omicron that is more desirable, but that's why I'm taking a moment to wait and see. Now to wrap up as we do, this is the gearing that I did on August 23rd. First thing is Radis took up to 5 stars. It's been a couple weeks since then, and I'm at 65 out of 85 shards now, so making some decent progress, but I still think I might be off pace to get Profundity second time around. I might need to augment that with more crystals. Hera here, taking her up to that staging ground of mine of gear. Well, no, I forget if I take her up to gear 11 or gear 12. I think I stop at 11 this time. I take her up to gear 12 and a week later. But I have all the gear that I need to take her up, take all the Profundity requirements up. But until I have Radis done, I'm just working on the signal data for those projects. Ghost here is taking up the ability since we leveled up the pilot. All those resources are meaningless at this point. Then we do at least a relic level. Mob Enforcer I glance at, but the carbs are too much of a premium right now. Take Palpatine up partly for Datacrons, partly because Sith Eternal Emperor is one of my options, or GL Jabba. Same deal with JKR Datacrons. Just hit the Relic 5 so I can take advantage of those for a few other characters. Otherwise, I'd be in no rush. Skiff Lando I want to do, but it's at this point the Datacrons or the Chirotechs were in too much of demand. So pretty light week. I do some more the following week, but we'll show that in the next talk video. Hopefully will be later this week. Last week and Labor Day threw everything off a little bit. Feel a little behind. Get back to it this week, but thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone. Be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.